motorcycle riding?
It's pretty cool when, and especially when my daughter Jody
is a Hall of Fame member as well.
Yeah, she's the youngest person inducted into the Hall of Fame. But no, glad to be here today. Glad to see many, many old friends, people that are also in the Hall of Fame that I pretty much started out with in the industry.
I thank you for being here, and I hope you have a great time, and we will see you later today at your paint show, correct?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We'll have to probably cut out of here a little early to get down to the paint show. And I just wanted to say also, myself and the Hamsters have taken a personal interest in preserving the history of motorcycling with the museum and the Hall of Fame. So the last couple of years, we've raised a substantial amount of money to donate to the museum and the Hall of Fame, which keeps our legacy going.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much, Dave. And I am here with Bob Kay, an inductee for 2022. What are you feeling right now in your stomach being inducted into the Sturgis Hall of Fame?
Oh, about a million butterflies running around.
Today probably means more to me than it did in 2018, right? 2018 was an individual award, and it was gratifying and satisfying, but this one really sort of puts the frosting on the cake.
But I love coming here every year because I get to see all my friends and fellow inductees. I was inducted many years ago. I don't remember what year. But it's great to see everybody.
Was it 2005?
I don't remember. I'm terrible.
I think it was 2005.
I really don't remember.
I'm here with Ed Kerr. You are one of the founding members of the Hamsters.
Yes,
give me a quick little understanding for anyone who doesn't or isn't familiar with the Hamsters. What is the goal of the Hamsters?
The goal of the Hamsters is camaraderie, custom bikes. It was started as a joke and with 6 guys. And now look at it, we have 362 people.
I love what you guys do as the Hamsters. The amount of money that you give back to charities, to youth groups. It's very inspiring to see a group of men come together that not only are passionate about custom motorcycles, but also passionate about what the good can be done in this world. And so tell me, what did you ride up here today to Deadwood?
I rode, it's called a freewheeler, F-R-E-E-wheeler. It's not a three-wheeler, because a three-wheeler is for old fat guys.
Mr. Rod Woodruff. I don't know, is it better known as Woody or do you prefer Rod? Which
Woody
is it?
works nicely.
So we just learned shortly from Lee about how much information and how much work it takes to bring a new inductee in. How daunting is that task for you as a board member?
Oh, we're blessed with a number of board members who really are deeply ingrained in their whole lives in the motorcycle industry. It's been getting a lot easier, it was first time I was on the board like 20 or 30 years ago, it was kind of tough, right?
It's impressive to see the group of people you bring into the museum. Not only when I say people, but I mean their motorcycles, how you're keeping that dynasty and that legacy of motorcycling alive. Personally, it's the greatest thing for me because I'm part of that younger demographic of motorcycling, and I may not have seen these individuals, but I have the opportunity when I go to the museum to learn about them and appreciate and actually identify what they've provided to our industry. So I personally thank you for that, but I also want to make sure we shine a light on the work that you do out at the Buffalo Chip. The amount of rides, the charity, the donations that you run.
We didn't keep track of it for the first couple of decades, so we really don't know just how much was there. But then when we start keeping track of it, it all adds up, and it's all local charities for the last 20 years that we've been doing things. So we raise money, raised quite a bit of money just this week. We got another ride this afternoon. As soon as I leave here, we have a ride with Rusty Wallace, raising money for the NASCAR Children's Foundation and the local Rapid City Flame, which is Special Olympics, right? And so we've done that before, and then we also support the Motorcycle Museum, and those are principally our charities. But also on Monday, because of the governor's participation, she's deeply ingrained in the Treasured Lives for sexual trafficking, and so the last couple of years we've also contributed to that, building a shelter, which will be the first shelter in the state of South Dakota. So it's all for a good cause.
That's great. Well, thank you for your work. Again, we're here with Rod Woodruff from the Buffalo Chip and also an executive member of the Sturgis Museum and Hall of Fame. Thank you, Rod. Enjoy your breakfast. All right, we are here with the founder and the operator of the Motorcycle Cannonball and the Cross Country Chase, Mr. Jason Sims. Now, Jason, you were on the board here in the museum.
I was.
Still a massive, huge supporter of the museum and the Hall of
Absolutely.
Fame. What is it like knowing that you've picked some of these Hall of Fame members to still be here and seeing the inductees for this year?
It's incredible to actually be a part of this whole thing and to witness and help guide what the Hall of Fame is turning into.
You know, one thing that's interesting, and I'll be the one to say it, we'll mark the date today. There'll be a day that we're standing here interviewing Jason as he's an inductee. And I don't say that to make you laugh and giggle, but I say that because Jason single-handedly is striving very hard to keep vintage motorcycling alive. Well, Jason, thank you. Thank you for all that you do for the industry. We'll see you in there. Enjoy your breakfast.
Thank you.
And I'm here with Scott Jacobs. If you don't know who Scott is, shame on you. Legendary artist, musician, motorcycle rider, motorcycle racer. What else do you do, Scott? Or what's better? What don't you do?
I bar back at my restaurant and clean dishes when I'm needed to.
So you now are on the board of the Hall of Fame
for about 5 years now.
So give me a little insight on what is it like when you find these inductees? What does it take to find the right inductee?
Well, I'll tell you a quick story is I was in Cincinnati with Mark Oswald, who was doing a TV show with the group Styx. And his wife is really close friends with Karen Davidson. And we're having this conversation and saying, Karen and Bill Davidson are in the Hall of Fame, right? And I was like, they gotta be. And so I'm like, I want to nominate Karen and Bill Davidson. I cannot believe they're not in the Hall of Fame.
How did that slip through the crack? So we appreciate all you do. And again, I've been thanking everyone in the board for keeping motorcycling alive. You guys work so hard to preserve the dynasty of motorcycle riding for the next generation. So I thank you for that.
You are quite welcome, and it's the least thing we can do.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you. All right, and we're back here at the Hall of Fame induction ceremony with Grady. Grady, tell me a little bit about why you're here today and why this means so much to you at the Hall of Fame ceremony.
Well, the Hall of Fame's been around a lot of years. It's a good cause. They do good things, and we try to raise money for them every year.
We've been talking all morning long in all the interviews about how important the Hall of Fame is in preserving the history. And the museum and the Hall of Fame are one entity, and they do such a wonderful job in preserving this history that the up-and-coming generation of motorcycle riders will have this opportunity to understand why there's a Hall of Fame, who's in it, and what they did, and how much they, as a new and upcoming rider, actually benefit from it.
Yeah, that's very true. The Hall of Fame just has to be sure that they induct the right kind of people that are in the motorcycle industry and are really supporting the motorcycle industry. That's the most important part, not just because they're a good guy.
Yeah.
And that's what they're really trying to do.
My name is Leah Whaley. I'm the Executive Director of the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum. And I'd like to welcome you to our 2022 Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Please silence your cell phones, and I'd like to call up David Hughes to give us our invocation.
Good morning. Would you bow your heads with me in prayer? Jesus, we pause before you today, and as we do, my mind is drawn to your first miracle, and it was in a celebration. I just pray that this celebration that you would work miracles in our hearts. We celebrate the inductees and their achievements, and I ask a blessing on them. I ask that you'd make yourself known to them like never before. We pray for our nation, our great state, for our local leaders. We need you, Jesus. The food that we've eaten in this great location, we're just grateful for how you provide for us. So I just pray a blessing on the staff and those that serve this week, those that can't defend themselves. I pray that you would defend them. When we leave this week, when we leave today, I pray that you would guide our journey. Ultimately, that you would guide our hearts to know you, the way, the truth, the life. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you and good morning. It's great to see everybody here. This has been a great journey for us this year, coming in for the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum and Hall of Fame and our ceremony today. I hope your travels in have been well, and I hope your return trip will be equally adventuresome and wonderful. The Board of Directors and the Hall of Fame Committee this year had a monumental task of sorting through a great big list of very, very great industry people to find the class of 2022. As the museum and the Hall of Fame have grown over the years, the number of inductees and the caliber of the inductees has just made it an incredibly difficult process. But once again, I do believe that the board and the committee have done an excellent job. And I'd like to take a minute right now to please recognize the board of directors who have volunteered their time, talent, and resources to support the museum and the Hall of Fame and to help our mission grow. So, board members, past and present, could you please stand and be recognized? The museum would not be where it is today if not for the City of Sturgis. In 2018, the City of Sturgis committed to the future of the museum by gifting us our building and providing the annual funds for maintenance and restoration. The committee has solidified the position on Main and Junction for years to come. And I'd like to invite Mayor of Sturgis, Mr. Mark Carstensen, to come up to the stage, please. Mr. Mayor.
Well, I love coming to this event. This is my 12th time saying this welcome. To be quite honest, I didn't plan on doing this again this year, but the way things worked out and the way the world works, it's here I am, and I'm proud to be Mayor of Sturgis. I'm proud that the partnership with the museum and what we have right in the city limits of Sturgis, the corridor of the downtown, and just keeping the rally building every year. As a community, I mean, everybody has been there without the rally. You see how small we are. We pulled this event off with a select group of people that these employees work so hard to make the rally welcoming, safe, and where people want to return. As a group of people, I mean, the American spirit is just, the biker spirit is what makes the rally great. The Black Hills make it for people to come back because there's so many great rides. And it's just, it's that spirit that makes what the family and the connectivity amongst people. In this room, there's a large amount of people with different aspects, but we all have common things, and that's why we were able to move forward. You work together, you don't look at the differences, you work at what overlaps, and when the overlapping is the American biker spirit, great things get done. I have a unique opportunity to plug something here. During this year's rally, we had an anonymous gift of $100,000 given to us that could be matched up to $100,000 for the rally charities endowment. It's something new that we started as the city. Over the years, the bike rallies brought millions of dollars to charities, and this just helped organize that for the city of Sturgis and the community places that need it. I mean, there's a lot of people that, because of the rally, because of the giving spirit, and because of people caring, it makes their whole world go around. So, welcome. Glad to be a part of this. Come back and see us and stay safe. And it's just a wonderful day. Thank you much.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Really appreciate you being here today. With the rest of the City of Sturgis team that's here, please stand and be recognized. Just as Mr. Mayor said, they work hard all year round, and they're here for us a little bit today. Our Hall of Fame breakfast ceremony supports so much other than the event today. Sponsors provide year-round support for the museum with a focus on promoting the Hall of Fame. We have many sponsors in the room today, and I'd like to first start by recognizing our title sponsor, Law Tigers. Over the last few years, the museum has developed an incredible relationship with Law Tigers. What started as a rally vendor deal has grown into year-round support and this year's Hall of Fame induction ceremony title sponsorship. Law Tigers fights for injured riders across the country while focusing on the riders and their families. They support riders nationwide with free resources and first-hand experience. But more than that, Law Tigers supports nonprofit organizations and stays true to their mission of giving back to the motorcycle community. With that, I'd like to call up Ari Levenbaum, COO and owner of Law Tigers, please. Ari, you want to come on up?
Good morning, fellow motorcycle enthusiasts. How y'all doing this morning? Pretty good? Good. Well, I want to thank you for getting up early, working through your hangovers, and taking time out of your vacation schedule to be here with us today. For those of you who don't know me, as the video said, my name is Ari Levenbaum, and I'm the COO and co-founder of Law Tigers, along with my father, Warren Levenbaum. I'm happy to share that this is my 14th Sturgis, and because of my amazing team, I've had the ability to ride here for the past 3 years and look forward to doing it for many more. And I'm happy to say that I've been riding with the Hamsters on the West Coast ride for 3 years, and it's a great organization and great ride, so thank you for including me, guys. I appreciate it. Quite honestly, if I didn't have a team that consists of Law Tigers, my VP of Field Operations, Bill Dow, my Western Regional Director, and 10 of my amazing marketing managers who work their butts off tirelessly each year, we wouldn't be able to do what we do during the rally. My guys are the best, and I truly have been blessed to call them colleagues, and I thank them from the bottom of my heart for all that they do. For those of you that were here last year, you may remember a guy by the name of Jared Neese. When Jared is the most badass professional flat track racer of all time, and he was inducted into the Hall of Fame last year. At that time, he made a funny joke, something along the lines of, when he came to Sturgis as a kid, all he saw was "show us your tit" signs at every corner. But now all he sees are these obnoxious Law Tigers inflatables at every turn. Well, I took exception to that snarky comment, and I'm happy to share with you and Jared, if he happens to be here, that we've even added even more obnoxious signs and inflatables this year. Because of you, Jared. We now have 13 inflatables, 300 teardrop flags, 30 billboards, 6 marketing vans, 1 vending area downtown, and a myriad of signage in over 40 campgrounds throughout the Black Hills. Lionel, did I miss anything? I don't know where he is. I think he's back there. I wonder what Jared Neese would say now if he was here. In all seriousness, Sturgis is a special place. It's the one time each year where people from all over the country, and over the world for that matter, come together to celebrate, excuse me, I lost my place here, to celebrate and enjoy all that this wonderful sport, lifestyle, culture, and industry has to offer, along with incredible rides and amazing scenery. Whether it's a charity event, museum, bike show, race, concert, campground, bar, or visiting one of the numerous town's main streets, there's something to do and enjoy for everyone. The rally also affords you the opportunity to see old friends and meet new ones, and to share war stories and make memories that you will cherish for a lifetime. I'm sorry for going off on a tangent, but let me explain the real reason why I'm up here today. 7 or 8 years ago, I was privileged enough to be invited to my first Hall of Fame breakfast, and back then it was much smaller than what it is today. I was humbled by the inductees and the contributions they made to the industry and the motorcycle community. It was at that first breakfast that I realized we had to get involved and support the Hall of Fame breakfast in some way, which I'm happy to share we've done for the past 6 years. For the past 2 years, fast forward 2 years ago, we were offered the chance to go from an associate sponsor to the title sponsor, which of course we jumped on immediately. It was an honor and a privilege to take on a bigger role, and we did so without hesitation. When we did, my colleague Lionel and I realized that we had to do something special. We wanted to recognize an individual and their organization that exemplify the ideas and values of the Sturgis Museum and Hall of Fame. The focus would be on individuals and their organizations who helped others and paid it forward. Last year was our inaugural year, and we recognized Flash and his organization, Bikers Against Bullies. To continue with the tradition, we selected our second recipient, Crystal Hess and Motorcycle Missions. This organization is a 501c3 that helps veterans and first responders with PTSD find hope and healing through motorcycle therapy. At Motorcycle Missions, they understand there is a need and desire for purpose, camaraderie, and of course, adrenaline. Their hope is to encourage their participation to instill a lifelong passion for riding and building motorcycles that will help them enjoy a happy, healthy, and balanced lifestyle after trauma. Several years ago, we donated a Harley to Motorcycle Missions for them to customize from our Phoenix, Arizona office. And along with the help of Buddy Stubbs Harley Davidson, Crystal and her team, along with a group of hand-selected veterans with PTSD, built a badass motorcycle. Because of COVID, the bike unveiling and the process to raffle it off to raise money for future builds was delayed. I'm happy to announce that the bike Right behind me, or straight over there, you can see in the middle, is now completed and is ready to be raffled off to one lucky winner. I'll let Crystal explain how to get tickets if you're interested. The reason I'm up here today, though, is to announce Crystal Hess and Motorcycle Missions as a Hall of Fame 2022 Hall of Fame hero. To help continue tradition and start their next build, we provided a $2,500 donation to this incredible organization. Please join me in celebrating and welcoming Crystal Hess, founder of Motorcycle Missions.
My name is Ari Levenbaum, and I am the COO and owner of Law Tigers, America's Motorcycle Lawyers. And we are proud supporters of Motorcycle Missions, a nonprofit organization whose mission it is to support vets with PTSD. I had the opportunity firsthand to spend a number of hours with these amazing individuals, these veterans who have served our country with honor and distinction. Oftentimes, unfortunately, when you go through something like that, which I can't even relate to, it leaves a lasting mark, an indelible mark, and oftentimes you're left with post-traumatic stress disorder. And many of these veterans may be suicidal or depressed or unable to work, and so the Motorcycle Missions Organization gives them the opportunity through an application process to work together to build a motorcycle with their hands, to turn something into this amazing piece of artwork that then gets sold or auctioned off so that future projects can continue on.
I'm Brian. Right now I'm a service advisor at Rowan Harley. I retired from the military about 3 years ago. Almost 27 years, did at least almost 5 years total between Iraq and Afghanistan, and saw some unfortunate situations, and this has definitely helped cope with some of those, and at least afforded me an opportunity to find and realize there are resources out there to help.
This isn't intimidating at all. So many of my heroes and people I look up to in this room, donors and friends, thank you for having me up here. This was not expected. I didn't know what was going on. So I'm Crystal Hess. I'm the founder of Motorcycle Missions. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. We do motorcycle therapy with veterans and first responders. We don't just go ride, we build motorcycles. We're currently on our number 15th motorcycle build, the one behind there. That we built with Law Tigers was number 12. And we have 16, 17, and 18 already in the works. We get groups of veterans and first responders together with PTSD, match them with a build mentor like Buddy Stubbs or all the D&D or any of those companies, and they build a bike together. They get the camaraderie, they get the just the hands-on knowledge of how to build a motorcycle, how to bend the tubing for a custom-built frame, or how to rebuild an engine, or how to just change oil or do the fork tubes. So we give them hands-on training, we give them welding experience, we give them metal shaping experience. We have classes for all those things. And then in addition to that, we have some other programs that involve riding. So there's land speed racing, so we get our vets learning how to land speed race. We do motocross, we do track days, so we have like 400cc Kawasaki Ninjas we do track days with. We have mini MotoGP, which is getting grown men and women in leathers, scraping knees on 150cc mini sport bikes on go-kart tracks. So there's nothing not fun about that, or stress relieving. So we do that as well. So we try and get guys riding, learning how to ride. We meet them where they are. They can be a new rider, or they can have all the experience in the world. But we are really hands-on and like to encourage the camaraderie. New to Motorcycle Missions this last year, we've added a Gold Star program, so we now match kids of fallen officers and soldiers with some veterans in our program. So the veteran that is mentoring the child also gets some therapy with that relationship, and the other way around too. So these kids get to learn how to ride in the absence of their parent, because that is usually where you do learn how to ride, is from your parent. So, and then also this year we're trying something new where at rallies we're pairing our veterans and first responders up with companies. to do some hands-on mentorship at the rally. So tomorrow you'll find us at Black Hills Harley with Trask and Clockworks with our veterans learning how to do hands-on experience with those companies, and so that's something new for us this year. But thank you all for your support. That motorcycle back there was built by a group of veterans and first responders in Phoenix, Arizona, under Law Tigers and Buddy Steps Harley Davidson. Lots of amazing groups that sponsored that build as well. So we are trying to raise money through this bike. If you guys find on your table, we have a card with a QR code you can scan and you can purchase your tickets. All that money goes back to our programs, so we can fund our riding programs, our welding, our fabricating, and all the overhead and everything that goes with that. All of these programs that we offer to our vets and first responders are free of charge, and we are completely volunteer. So none of us get paid at Motorcycle Missions. So your contribution is very important to our mission and what we do. And I hope that you guys visit our website and see all the amazing things we've done. Thank you to all of my friends and family here in this room. I really appreciate it. I look forward to meeting the rest of you that I don't know. But yeah, if you see any of us around with Motorcycle Missions jerseys or shirts or hats, whatever, please come and say hi, because we'd love to meet you. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you again, Ari, and your entire team of Law Tigers, not only for what you do and what you do for the museum, but also what you do for all of our fellow motorcycle riders. Nino 925 has partnered with us again to provide one-of-a-kind Hall of Fame customized rings for each of the inductees. For over 20 years, Nino 925 has specialized in creating superior handcrafted custom jewelry in 9.925 sterling, yellow, white gold, and platinum. Each piece is handcrafted and designed in the USA. For current Hall of Fame members who would like a ring, fully customizable with your Hall of Fame information, please see Frank, and he's out front here. He'll help you set up and answer any questions that you have. But we'd like to thank them again for the beautiful rings for our inductees again this year. So thank you so much. I'd also like to recognize our platinum level sponsors, because without sponsorship, we don't have a breakfast. And so thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Harley Davidson Motor Company, Trask Performance, Corbin, and Hamsters USA. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you to our gold level sponsors, Robin Bradley, Motorcycle Riders Foundation, BMRF, Cycle Visions, the Davidson family, Don Emde, and Vern Hollaback. Thank you. In addition to our sponsors, we have a whole bunch of folks that bought tickets individually. And thank you for traveling in and spending your morning with us. The purchases that you've made help to support the museum and its mission as well. So thank you so much, and thank you for joining and celebrating our inductees' accomplishments. I also want to recognize the people that make the museum run on a day-to-day basis. They work hard every single day to provide a world-class experience to all of our guests. From greeting you at the door to wiping down the bikes, changing up the displays, the team at the museum is a dedicated group, and they are the glue that holds us together. Patty Engel and Jake Callahan are back right now at the museum greeting our guests. But in the back of the room, we have Penny Tollery, our museum manager, and Penny is a rock star. So the next time you stop into the museum, please make sure you say hey to Penny, Patty, and Jake, and thank them for their hard work. I'm humbled by the love and support in the room, and I'm grateful we are all here together. Excuse me. However, we've lost members of our motor family this year, and the museum's mission is to preserve the history and motorcycling
and to honor those who have made a significant impact on the industry. We would be remiss if we did not take a few minutes to honor our Hall of Fame members who have passed away and our friends of the industry. Please join me in a moment of silence.
Thank you. Before we go any further, I would like to ask Flash to join us up here on stage again. As you may recall, Flash was recognized last year by Law Tigers for his work with Bikers Against Bullying. He's also a friend of mine, and he brings a wonderful energy to the stage. So I'd like to bring Flash up as well now to carry on with their ceremonies. Come on up, Flash.
So, Laura.
Leah.
We're friends. We're actually friends. But it is, I feel you. This is daunting being up here. Come on, closer. So, you know, we met a long time before you ever actually knew me. I'm a hog officer as well, and I can do enough officer training events, and you were one of the people running the shows there and stuff like that. So I've learned a lot from you.
Well,
thank you for doing that. And now you're here, and you know, when Leah was just talking about people that we've lost, you could feel the emotion, and it just goes to show us how much you really love this. And this is your life. I mean, this is a huge part of your life.
Yes.
Everybody, let's say thanks to Leah. So it's my job to take it from here, introduce a few people, and try not to screw things up. Is that right?
Yes, sir. And I have faith in you.
Oh, great, thank you.
Thank you, my dear.
So, one of the things that I was asked to do today was be able to introduce a few people, and it's a great honor to be able to do that. I was also told I need to stay on schedule, not use profanity, and not do anything off color. Sit down. Thank you so much for your time. You know what? One thing I also want to do though is keep Terry out there, and it was mentioned earlier, Terry Components. One more time, I've had the opportunity. I've been talking to Keith for months about this. That man cares so much about the Hall of Fame and the museum. Thank you, Keith Terry and Terry Components, one more time. You know, the purpose of this ceremony is to recognize and honor those who have made a significant impact on our industry. Many are in the room today. Hall of Fame members are wearing a medallion around their neck. When you see this medallion, yes, that's right, that was not 50 Cent who walked by, but anyway, or Flavor Flav, yeah. So, but when you see them, take time, thank them. Thank them for being gentlemen, great women, people who have paid it forward enough to be able to earn that medallion around their neck. Because without them, all this wouldn't be going on. And, you know, as bikers, we can kind of screw things up like a soup sandwich anytime we want without having those people to lead us into the next decades. with innovation, safety devices that keep us alive, and training and love, we wouldn't be here. So thank you to all of our already inducted Hall of Famers as well. You know, one of the things I've noticed at these Hall of Fames is that there are more and more of both genders attending. Yes, there are more women at the Hall of Fame than there was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And some of you are bringing your spouses, some of your spouses are bringing you. But right now, just for a moment, all you gentlemen who have a lady sitting beside you, a spouse, a better half, a boss, a handler, whatever, look at them. I want to take a moment and look at them right now. All right? And tell them, yes, dear, I'm married above my pay grade. I'm looking at this crowd, and some of you guys can use all the help you can get. So. But I'm also noticing we're not as young as we used to be. And one of our important things right now is bringing in new people, bringing in younger people, right? Bringing in younger people into our sport. See, this is sport. And, you know, and it's one of those great sports we can do until we can't. And I know there's some people out there who are so important to me when I see them ride, because I'm like, oh man, I've got a long time left. I'm going to get to do this for a long time. And that's not an insult. That is a compliment. I mean, that's so easy for me to embrace. But the difference is now is our conversations, right? Back in the day, you'd be in Sturgis for about 3 days, and you'd all be like, oh man, really tore it up last night. Right? Oh yeah. Did you see that girl I was talking to? We went dancing, we had the best time. Nowadays, we're walking around at breakfast in the morning, it's one of those, did you poop yet? Man, when I travel, I can't poop. It's just a part of maturing again. No, it's a part of getting older. I'm a perfect example of, you know what, you don't mature. But, so, you know what, but I'm just here to kind of lighten things up and keep things going, and I thank you all for doing that. And in the meantime, right now, we are surrounded by amazing people, and you're going to get to see a few of them. I apologize for putting on and off my readers, but I'm at that age where I need them. But then if I look up and see you all, I'm going to fall over, and it makes me want to be sick. I'm not there yet. So, but in the meantime, right now, we are going to welcome the class of 2022. We're going to watch a video about a wonderful gentleman from across the pond.
Robin Bradley was born in the mid-1950s and brought up in England's Detroit, Coventry, the heartland of Britain's automotive and motorcycle industries. Having flirted with the idea of publishing as a teenager, his time there gave him a pathway to formalize his interest into a way of paying the rent. The result was a near 50-year media career. In fact, it turned out that the media was a career choice that floated on a sea of such diversions. Like most youngsters, Robin fooled about with bikes, once building a hovercraft with a 195cc Villiers single. The first bike he owned was a 1973 Soviet-era East German Emde ETZ 175cc single. By the late 80s, career highlights had included a brief stint in the music business, on London's iconic New Musical Express, and international publishing in the golf industry, among other experiences. His motorcycle industry involvement started in 1989, working for a British custom magazine called Backstreet Heroes, a highly regarded keeper of the flame for a nascent domestic British custom culture that directly paralleled the earlier salvage yard chopper build ethos of the Easy Rider generation here in the United States. The magazine was the catalyst for a magazine called Hog, Europe's first pure Harley-Davidson title. They had the rights to the Hog name in the UK for magazines, events, and merchandise before Harley-Davidson had started consolidating its IP war chest. Robin started AMD Magazine, initially as European Dealer News, in September of 1993. International Dealer News followed in 1997, and a collaboration with Custom Chrome resulted in the first AMD World Championship of Custom Bike Building in 2004. After a year in Las Vegas, Big Twin West 2005, he moved the event to Sturgis, later moving the event to Europe. As Robin became closer to the parts, accessory, and performance aftermarket at close quarters, he found himself gravitating to the business end of the equation, the dealer and industry journal publishing market. He says in hindsight he realizes just how good the experience he got through his London publishing career had been. One of the many important lessons he learned was that a publication that positions itself well as a trade enabler can establish itself as the oil in the engine that drives a market's business cycle. The twist he added was to bring consumer magazine personality and production values to a trade, combining features with facts to deliver an intense torrent of information and insight. Though he has never pretended to be a hardcore, high-mileage writer, the friendship, passion, and drive of the people he has encountered in the motorcycle business is what has kept him coming back for more. It still does so now, some 30-plus years.
You know, what we'd like to do right now is call up the one and only Alan Alvarez. Are you here, Al? I hope you're here. Alan, join me on stage and let's introduce our first 2021 inductee. Alan himself is a class of 2020 Hall of Fame member and knows his way well around the motorcycle industry. You know, Alan, you are not only known as a very candid writer, but he's known, believe it or not, as somewhat of a controversial writer in the past. Done a great job, educated so many people for so many years. Everybody, Alan Alvarez.
Well, one thing I can say about Robin, he created an international flavor for custom bike building, which brought people from all over the world together at his championship, from Russia, Japan, all over. Not many people in this industry have really done that, but he joined the whole world together in custom bikes. But, you know, he's been an agitator too, but he's pretty nice. He's a long-haired hippie now. I told him to get a haircut, but he didn't. But right now, I'd like to introduce Robin. What they said on the screen, he's really worked in the industry to put out a magazine that brings both sides of the world together and give us good information and not a bunch of BS. Robin, come up and get your ring.
Well, thank you, Alan. Thank you, everybody.
When do I get my check?
Usual use 20s in well. I look out on this sea of faces here, genuine bona fide industry legends. And you read through the list of people who have been inducted in the past, and you understand the contributions they have made. And I got to tell you, Keith, I still swear it's a case of mistaken identity. You got the wrong phone number, man. I'm so grateful to be able to stand up here and represent possibly an aspect of your world, your industry, your culture, which doesn't get recognized quite as much as it should do. And that is the extent, the huge extent, to which the idea that is riding, the idea that is Harley-Davidson, the idea that is Sturgis, transmits around the world and infuses and inspires and motivates people. Our magazine is read in Sorrel. It's better with the numbers than me, but north of 70 countries, I think. There's barely a corner of the world in which people don't know about custom bikes and Harley-Davidsons, and in which the name Sturgis doesn't also resonate and have meaning. And to the extent to which I've been able to play a small role in helping to spread that message, I'm very proud to have done so. Let me just finish by quite simply saying thank you for allowing me to call your world mine. And you're
There's one thing about a well-educated Englishman, isn't it? Once they're finished talking, we all just feel a little bit smarter. Thank you so much, Robin. That is so well deserved, and you're such a gentleman. We appreciate you. All right, now, I am so overwhelmed by this group. I'm so overwhelmed by the next two people we're introducing. All I'm going to say right now is let's have a look at these screens while we look at our next inductees.
William J. Bill Davidson, Vice President of the Harley-Davidson Museum, is proud to work with the talented team that manages one of the largest corporate archival collections of unrestored Harley-Davidson motorcycles and artifacts in the world. The son of parents Willie G. and Nancy Davidson, he would find out early on that he bled black and orange. Although Bill was born into a family that was responsible for founding and operating the world's most famous motorcycle brand, his great-grandfather was William A. Davidson, one of the 4 founders of Harley-Davidson, his parents would always encourage Bill and his siblings to follow their own dreams. But he would be bit by a love for the sport at an early age. When he was 7, Bill threw a leg over a Harley-Davidson M50, and with a little push from Willie G., he sped off in the state park and never looked back. It was the start of a lifelong love affair with motorcycling that has been burning bright ever since. Over the years at family gatherings and celebrations, Bill would often gravitate to discussions with his grandfather William H. and his uncle John, who both served as presidents of Harley-Davidson, and his dad about the family business. To this day, one of his clearest memories is when the buyback made its way to the Davidson family home and the hoots, hollers, and celebrations that accompanied it. On the weekends, Bill's passion for the sport spilled onto the racetrack. An amateur racer himself, he would also make annual treks to dirt tracks, drag strips, and road races with his family to cheer on the Harley-Davidson factory race teams. It would only be a matter of time until he would find his own position in the family business. After earning a marketing degree from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, Bill joined the company in 1984. Over the years, he's held many leadership positions. He helped pioneer the demo program that is still a major component of Harley-Davidson's outreach efforts. He played a large role in helping make the Harley Owners Group the most popular motorcycle club in the world. He's graced the stage to launch new engine platforms. He served as Vice President of Core Marketing and Racing. And his fingerprints are all over new products, new motorcycles, and more that have come from the motor company over these decades. Today, Bill is thrilled to lead the team as the VP of the Harley-Davidson Museum, a top tourist draw in Milwaukee. Fans from the world over descend on the motorcycle mecca to immerse themselves in a global brand with more than a century's worth of heart-thumping adventure. His role as ambassador for the brand gives him the chance to travel the world as well, meeting and greeting people from all walks of life, from all points on the map. He could not be more honored to earn a place in the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum Hall of Fame. He's attended dozens of rallies here. His family has played a major role in helping forge the many memories he's made here. And now, to be positioned alongside his parents and his sister Karen in these most hallowed halls means the world to him. Karen Davidson has a lifetime of living the Harley-Davidson experience. Davidson, the great-granddaughter of the company's co-founder, William A. Davidson, and daughter of Willie G. and Nancy Davidson, began riding at the age of 9. As director in Harley-Davidson's marketing department, she maintains Harley-Davidson's distinctive reputation and legacy as she works on new initiatives for the company. Karen's transition from fine arts to fashion design in college led her into the garment industry. She worked her way up in the garment industry at a fabric, apparel, and accessory company in New York to become a director of marketing and design. Never straying far from her love of motorcycles and leather apparel, at the same time she began creating new leather design options for Harley-Davidson as a freelance designer. Karen helped co-fund and established Harley-Davidson's branded functional and casual apparel and accessory line, Motor Clothes, with Clive Fessler. As director for Harley-Davidson's general merchandise department, she maintained Harley-Davidson's distinctive reputation and rich history as she established new design initiatives for growth for Harley-Davidson's apparel and accessory products and expanded its core offerings beyond loyal customers. The Motor Clothes branded line of apparel and accessories grew to $300 million under Karen and the apparel team. As a devoted rider, Karen has passion for leather and functional riding apparel and has been instrumental in setting new strategies for direction and growth for Harley-Davidson apparel since the launch of Harley-Davidson Motor Clothes. Applying her passion for riding, she advanced the performance of functional riding gear. Leading the motorcycle apparel industry, her many firsts included advancing functional riding gear, developing new leather, and engineering for improved rider comfort. She expanded the women's apparel as the company attracted more women into the sport. In recent years, she spearheaded the collection strategy for heritage high-performance technologies and retro-specific looks predominant in contemporary moto culture. It's been her honor to serve customers and dealers and to work with the many dedicated team members and designers at Harley-Davidson to innovate new apparel product. In 1991, the Council of Fashion Designers of America in New York bestowed the prestigious Industry Award to Karen and Harley-Davidson for fashion influence. Karen says, "The most important thing for me is to respect all our brand enthusiasts and loyalists. In keeping with our motorcycle's perfect blend of artistry and iron, Harley-Davidson apparel must remain authentic, custom, and versatile." Upholding her belief that authentic Harley-Davidson design and innovation must be original, she acknowledges her father, Willie G. Davidson, as her greatest inspiration for pushing newness and originality in design, making that left turn when everyone else goes right. Karen lives in California and ran the Harley-Davidson Creative R&D Studio that provided new direction for functional and casual apparel and accessories. She is dedicated to supporting global Harley-Davidson customer events, the many emerging motorcycle customers, and the outstanding apparel designers that continue to support Harley-Davidson. In her role as a brand ambassador for Harley-Davidson, she passionately supports the Harley-Davidson race teams, riders, dealers, and enthusiasts from across the world. She is thrilled to join her brother Bill as they are recognized this year and will join their parents, earning a place in the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum Hall of Fame. Humbled by the talent and fame of all prior inductees, she is indeed grateful.
Wow. And without further ado,
Works. I am thrilled to be here, but I must say, this is where I belong. I'm here with my good family, Bill and Karen and Kara and Michael, and I had a nice phone call that hooked me up with my good friend Terry Benson Hines. So here I am. And we had a great ride out here. He's got a beautiful airplane. It's good to have friends with airplanes. Motorcycling has been very good to our family. Myself, 50 years of riding, which is
a considerable amount, but every mile was very enjoyable. And this is a special event for me because two of my children, Karen and Bill, are going to be inducted, and I'm a very proud father. Now I gotta look at my notes to see what the hell I'm supposed to say. But you know what? I wrote my notes pretty damn small. But I really want a special thanks to Terry for bringing us out here. It was great. Now I'm on page 2. Our family has been totally immersed in our sport, and it's been many years. We are also collectors, and I have a nice addition on my home, which is filled with motorcycles. And they, guess what? They're Harley Davidsons. But we follow the sport pretty closely, and I'm a new Bagger fan. After watching those guys run around Elkhart, it was fantastic. And the number of Harleys that were headed up to that event filled all the highways. So we're off to a good racing season, and that's what it's all about. And I would have gone up there just to hear those things run. Fantastic. So racing is an important part of what we do, and it's son Bill is also a racing enthusiast, and he has competed in motocross, and now he runs our great museum. And I urge all of you who have not been there, you should take a ride up there and take a look at what's going on. We've expanded that museum quite a bit, so it's a great spot for all of you to attend and maybe even see me hiding out there. I gotta read my tiny notes. Karen, who's right here, she's led many women's events and is an avid rider. And she rode out here and enjoyed it, even with all the damn rain. But you know, it's all part of motorcycling. So glad you're here, Karen. Both Karen and Bill are avidly involved with our factory, and they are good members, and thank goodness that they're involved, because that's what it's all about. And I'm glad I'm here with them today so we can celebrate with all of you. So thanks for the crowd. It's great. So I think I can read this now. So we want to welcome Karen and Bill, they're sitting right here, to the Hall of Fame, which is something I'm certainly very proud of, and I'm happy to be here. This is where I belong. Nancy has passed, but I talk to her all the time. So I want to just say once again, I'm very proud of our two children, and I'm happy to be here, and I hope all of you will have a good time. This is a beautiful part of the world to ride in. I've been here since 1978, and I've only missed one event. So I belong here, and I'm happy to say hello, have a good time, ride an HC, make some noise.
As a tribute to my mom, I have the pink rose. I want to talk about family. I'm looking at industry greats, and I am truly humbled and honored to be in your presence. I follow what many of you do. I'm just amazed at this industry. Our family lives it passionately. We live to give our customers the best experience that we can. Bill and I have been in product development. I've been fortunate, thanks to Clyde very early on, to merge what I know best and my schooling talents with riding, motorcycling, Harley Davidson. The video said it all. I can just tell you guys that we rode here, Michael and Kara, Dad, the immediate family, Angie, and our ride group all forms a unique bond. We support one another. I support this industry like none other, and I really respect it. So I am honored and very, very humbled to be up here, and I thank you, Leah. I thank the Hall of Fame, and ride on, united, we all ride.
So this is kind of cool. Brother and sister, family. Karen said a lot, so all I need to say is ditto. No, I am so thrilled to be standing in front of all of these great people. This is our industry, and I want to thank all of you. I want to thank the past and present Hall of Famers. I am so proud. Thank you. You know, I tried to write some notes for today, and it was tough because being with the company since 1984, riding out here for 30 years, I bleed orange and black. This is my life, my love. I have a collection of motorcycles. The people surrounding me that have supported me, fantastic. I can't thank them enough, including Mom and Dad, my daughter Kara, my fiancée Angie, family, my brother Michael, my ugly brothers. I'm going to tell you a quick story. 1984, I just joined the company. You heard in the video that my first responsibility was to develop our corporate demo ride program. We had just launched a new motor called Evolution. And we had been having some quality issues, so we had to prove to the world that that new motor was a great new motor, and it was. But when I proposed to Harley Davidson leadership that we bring 12 demo bikes out to Sturgis and set up at the former Outlaw Inn that is now the Super 8, they said, no way. They're going to all get stolen. I said, what? I said, you know what? I'll put a fake sticker on the gas tank that says there's a roving device on this motorcycle. So long story short, I was able to convince them we didn't have any issues. And here we are today, bigger than ever before with our corporate presence here in Sturgis. It's been phenomenal. You know, it's amazing traveling this world, traveling the great US of A on a seat of a Harley Davidson. The places I've been able to see, the people I've been able to meet, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And I'm so proud, along with Karen, to be carrying on this legacy that our relatives started back in 1903. We have been building great motorcycles consistently for 119 years, and we're not stopping. And I am so proud to continue this legacy forever. Thank you, everyone.
You know, I find it so profound when you were talking about your family. When I think about Bill and Karen Davidson, I think with Karen Davidson, it's if the dictionary had empower and woman closer to each other, there would just be a photo of her right in the middle. You emulate what we all want to be. And it's not just about women, it's all of us. You emulate the type of riders we want to be. Bill, your love, your passion, you're willing to walk up to strangers like me 15 years ago and treat me like I'm the most important person in the room is remarkable. Thank you for your love and your respect. And you got to remember this, your family, your legacy and your hard work has created this family. And this family goes out to millions and millions of riders out there. Do you know how many bikers call their brothers and sisters family? You know how many call them brothers and sisters? That's because of the Harley-Davidson family. And the fact that Willie G rode across and kicked AMC in the nuts. Thank you. Oh my goodness, let's watch another video about our next inductee, please.
Bob Kay's passion has been fueled by the stories from working in the motorcycle industry and riding thousands of miles for the past 50 years. It started when he was very young. Two of his father's friends rolled into the family's driveway on panheads. He was awestruck. From that point on, he wanted to be a biker. His father told stories about the bikes he and his father rode. The most notable was the white 1929 Harley-Davidson JD model with gold stripes that Bob's grandfather ordered from the factory. In the summer of '69, Bob went to Woodstock and to college. He met this cool guy that had also been to Woodstock. They became roommates and best friends. It was John Betancourt, who was already a national motocross star. Soon, Bob bought his first motorcycle. In 1971, Betancourts opened their second shop, and Bob worked for them. He started prepping new bikes, then moved into the parts department. He lived in a converted delivery truck behind the shop. Betancourt's was a full-on race shop, and Bob dove in. He tried motocross, enduro, short track, and some road racing. He married his high school sweetheart in 1973. In 1974, he and Deborah partnered with a good friend and opened Motorcycle Madness. In 1975, Bob started in parts at Honda of Boston, working 60 hours a week and racing on weekends. He became parts manager, then general manager. To keep growing in the industry, Bob continued his education. In 1979, he started his first distributorship, Recreational Dimensions. In 1982, he graduated from Dean College with high honors and a degree in business administration. He got hired at Nimco and was a third-generation Harley biker working for a Harley-related company. In 1983, Bob and Deborah bought into Nimco and became partners. Then he met Dave Perowitz. They became good friends and developed a few products together. Dave suggested Bob organize a bike show at Laconia. Nimco ran several shows at Laconia and Sturgis, benefiting children's charities. In 1992, Bob's partners retired, and Nimco became Biker's Choice. Bob managed the integration, relocating to Texas as Tucker Vice President and General Manager of the Biker's Choice. In 2002, Bob joined American Iron Horse as Chief Operating Officer. Bob helped Hard Bikes with a new build-to-order custom bike operation. He founded Biker Pros to help American custom builders, initially supplying parts and focusing on custom bike shows, helping builders get better exposure and sponsorships. Biker Pros started Torian Chopper Leathers and supplied leathers for Easy Riders. Bob saw many builders enter their first show at one of those events and go on to be some of the best custom builders in the industry. In 2007, Bob co-founded and remains a partner in A Biker's Garage. Bob now spends more time building bikes, riding bikes, and passing on the passion to his grandson and new granddaughter. Bob says that his best stories have come from the roadside repairs and the generosity of people willing to help. Being inducted into the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum Hall of Fame is an overwhelming honor.
Wow, how's that for a resume? We have got a gentleman who's a friend to so many of us here, an iconic builder and a gentleman of the industry. Hall of Fame class of 2001, Mr. Dave Horowitz. Would you like to come up and introduce yourself?
Well, I met up with Bob a few days ago, and I said, Bob, let's make some notes, about the old days. So we talked about half an hour, made a bunch of notes. I lost them all. So I don't think I really need notes. Bob and I met around 82 when he went to Nemco. We formed a relationship pretty quick. We talked about designing new products, and we ended up working together. We designed a number of new products for Nemco back in that era. And, Bob moved on to be a partner in Nemco, which worked out great for him. And then they wanted me to build some bikes for Nemco. So, it's the old late night, the night before deal. And, Bob would come over to my shop and work with us until the wee hours of the morning to get the bikes ready so that we could ship them out to the next event. And we've been good friends ever since. Bob is quite a family man. I've known his wife since the beginning. Great woman. His daughter, Victoria, I think the last time I saw her, she was about 4 years old. But now she's got 2 kids. Bob's a proud grandfather and well-deserving of the honor to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Bob Rush.
Wow. First, I'd like to congratulate my fellow inductees and all previous inductees. But you got to know, this is a big deal for me. To represent the aftermarket and everybody in the custom bikes and what's been accomplished. When Keith Terry called me, I was speechless. I mean, I couldn't believe it. This is just a huge, huge honor. The passion that drives me is from everybody in this room, everybody I meet on the road, and it's all about the stories. What we have coming to Sturgis, going to Laconia, the stories that we have, that's what this whole industry, that's what drives our passion. The freedom that we believe in, there's not a better place than Sturgis for us to be celebrating this. With Governor Kristi Noem and what she does to represent freedom, it just fits the bikers and the freedom in South Dakota. It just goes so well together. God. I tried to make notes. Everybody said, oh, you're going to be nervous when you get up there. We just did a ride through the Rockies a couple thousand miles the week before. And all I kept thinking about was, okay, what am I going to say? How am I going to do this, My family is just so important to me. Being a third generation Harley rider has always been a really big deal. You know, I love everybody here. I can't thank you enough. I really have to thank my grandfather for that 29 JD he bought. That was our holy grail growing up. The Bencourt family for bringing me into this industry. Last year was my 50th consecutive year working in the industry. My whole family that has come up to celebrate this, Scott, my best friend, my daughter, Victoria. This morning I wake up and they're all standing there and they got these special shirts on. They had me crying at 6 o'clock this morning. You know, so I'm telling you, it's just been too much. But most importantly, I want to thank my wife, Deborah Lee, my whole life for her unwavering support. My friend. Thank you all so much. I love you all, man. Thank you.
You know, I don't know if the motorcycle pulls us, makes us more emotional, connects us more with the earth, connects us more with each other, or if the fact that we're connected more with the earth and each other, we buy motorcycles. But everybody always talks about the big, bad, nasty, smelly biker, blah, blah, blah. I cannot, you know what, there's so many curiosities in this room for the last 45 minutes right now. And it's amazing to feel the overwhelming emotions going on in this room. Bob, Kay, you are a gentleman of the industry. Thank you so much, Bob. Let's roll the next video.
Carlo and Emma Lujan of Auburn, California, grew up dreaming of the life they ultimately created. Around the age of 10, Carlo bought his first mini bike, a basket case that he carried home. With a little help from his dad, he got it assembled with a Clinton motor, direct drive, and no brakes. He later added a rear brake. He later raced go-karts and obtained a Honda 50 stripped down for racing. In 1966, Carlo started working at the Honda and Triumph shop in town after school. Later in the early 70s, he was building motors for a couple of shops in the Bay Area, specializing in lower-end rebuilding. Conversely, when Emma was 7, she moved to Pleasant Hill, California. Around the corner from her childhood home was Bill Cheney's Harley Davidson, which she would walk to with dreams of obtaining one. Fast forward to 1980, when Emma and Carlo met at her sister and brother-in-law's house. It was love at first sight. When Carlo and Emma got together in 1980, he kept talking about opening his own motorcycle shop. Carlo started looking for buildings to rent and stockpiling motorcycle parts. Emma asked him one day, "Who's going to help you with this shop?" He said, "You are. I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about Harleys." In 1982, Carlo and Emma opened their first shop called Carlo's Custom Motorcycle Parts. Carlo was building motors, mostly strokers. Emma was 25 and worked behind the parts counter. Along with Carlo's knowledge and instruction, Emma started taking parts and service manuals home to learn more about how Harleys worked. Emma enjoyed talking to people. When a new face came in the door, she got to know them, and before long, Carlo and Emma were building them a bike. Grateful for his work, Jim Berger gave Carlo a basket case drag bike and the racing bug bit. The break-in pass on the track was 9.80 seconds and was featured in Easy Riders magazine. Working together with Emma, Carlo became the national #1 pro dragster for the drag bike series in 1988. In 1989, Carlo and Emma became C&E Auburn Harley-Davidson. It took much of their time, and racing went on the back burner. However, they did race in Sturgis in 1990 for the 50th anniversary and won first. They won the Bar and Shield Award, the highest award given to a Harley dealer, 4 times. In 1998, Carlo and Emma sold the dealership and retired. Retirement lasted 11 years, and they put 500,000 miles on their motorcycles. In the 2008 recession, their old dealership closed, but Carlo and Emma got the building back. Carlo and Emma reopened as an independent shop. It took 5 weeks to reopen, and 5 weeks later, a fire destroyed the business. While an initial setback, they found another building nearby. In 2014, they became and remained C&E Auburn Indian and V-Twin. Regarding their Hall of Fame induction, it's a culmination of 40 years of hard work, missing family gatherings, graduations, and birthdays. Being a Harley-Davidson dealer and an Indian dealer has been fantastic. They are thankful for all the people who came through their doors.
Here to introduce Carlo and Emma Lujan is their longtime friend, Hall of Fame, class of 2020, and all-around badass, the one and only Mr. Michael McCloskey. Come on up, Mike.
Good morning. A lot of us have been in the industry for decades and decades, and we've been exposed to a lot of people in the industry. Once in a while, we run across that special person, or in this case, special couple. These guys have the passion, as Bob always says. Nothing stops them. Fires, losing the dealership, selling the dealership, he's in the game. And to this day, when I want to visit Carlo at his shop, I go to the showroom, I go to the parts, I go all the way into the back to the machine shop, and here he is with the apron. I'm a mechanic, I love this guy. He's still building motors and getting it done. Emma has stood by his side through thick and thin. They're a great couple. He's my ugly brother, and I'd like to welcome him.
First and foremost, I want to thank my husband for getting me involved in this industry, and also for Mike McCloskey for throwing our name in the hat and actually becoming part of this amazing, amazing group. To be here, like Karen Davidson said, is humbling, and I'll try not to cry through the whole time. But I do want to tell a story. In 1990, we rode with 636 of our best friends from Milwaukee to Sturgis with the Davidsons. And while we were in every stop, you know, people would come up, hey, Willie, would you sign my boob, or would you sign my ass? And Nancy was just so eloquent. She just, you know, just sat there, and Carlo went up one day and he stuck his butt in her face. He goes, hey, Nancy, would you sign my ass? She grabbed that pen, she signed it, and Willie goes, that didn't feel very good. I mean, it forged a 33-year friendship with the Davidsons, so I just want to thank everybody for being here and everybody for putting our name in, and it's an honor. And to be by my best buddy's side for 40 years, my husband and my best friend.
It's been a great ride. We could not have done this alone. Together, it takes two brains to make it all work. We've done well. This whole thing is big. It's not just winning awards for a particular company like we did with Harley, which is fantastic. This is worldwide. This is fantastic. I want to thank everybody who helped back us and put in the good work for us and got us here. Thank you very much.
One more thing, I want to thank our daughter, Michelle Marie. Would you stand up, honey? She put up with us for all these years. And also, Jimmy, would you stand up? Jimmy's been with us from day one. Indian Motorcycle Riders Group, all the uglies, merci beaucoup.
I also have a buddy that came with me that our first time here in Sturgis was 1981. Big Dave, stand up. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You know, getting to watch these videos of you, Carlo, and here you got this hair and these tank tops and you're looking like an 80s porn star, and you've got a beautiful woman with you and an awesome motorcycle. It's like everybody in 1982 had to want to be you. Is that true, right? I mean, you look like they just extracted you from a movie and put those slides on there. It's beautiful. You guys are a beautiful family. Thank you so much for everything.
Well, now I fell in love with that face, right?
You know what, okay, maybe, but he is way above his pay grade. I'm just telling you that right now.
65 and still right.
Oh my goodness. I had the opportunity to meet Alice Cooper one time in England, and I did not ask for a selfie because I'm not that guy. You know, I kind of feel a little awkward. I rode up at 7 o'clock in the parking lot. And I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, "How do I know you?" He says, "Yeah, Mike Corbin." I said, "Can I take a selfie?" It was great. I mean, Alice Cooper, yeah. Mike Corbin, hell yeah, right? So anyway, speaking of, you know what we have got right now, we're going to be looking at a video right now from a remarkable man that made a remarkable company. He is the type of guy, he was considered kind of a nerdy engineer, wasn't he? Yeah, he was a nerdy engineer. As Bikers Against Bullies, when we roll into schools, we try to get kids to empower themselves, right? If you want to be a rock star, be a rock star. If you're going to be a nerd, but own it. And if you own it, other people will embrace it. And here's a good example. Can we roll the video, please?
Tom Seymour was born in upstate New York. He was a science nerd who received a full scholarship to Cooper Union, lettering in wrestling and football. He earned his BSME in engineering in 1969 and his MBA in 1973. He worked for corporations as an engineer, test engineer, and engineering manager. He was chief engineer of engine development before switching his career to marketing, overseeing international operations of McCulloch with Black & Decker. What no one knew was that Tom had another life. He would shed his tie and pocket calculator and go ride and race motorcycles. He commuted on a motorcycle and raced short track, enduros, motocross, and TT scrambles. He joined Yonkers MC, the oldest motorcycle club in the United States, becoming road captain and president. Even as a corporate executive, Tom would shed his suit, don his Yonkers vest, and lead rides to rallies and events. Although he enjoyed professional success, Tom wanted work for himself in the motorcycle industry. He bought a small motorcycle accessory company in 1977, which he sold and then launched Saddlemen. Tom's business and motorcycle lives finally merged. Combining Tom's marketing and engineering skills and his enthusiasm for motorcycling, Saddlemen grew successfully. Early on, Saddlemen was small, but their products were excellent. In life, when someone helps you out of a painful situation, you often say, "They saved my butt." Tom used his engineering skills and experience of thousands of hours on good and bad motorcycle seats to make the best seats he could design. Over the years with Saddlemen, Tom literally saved thousands of butts. Saddlemen seats are designed to enhance the motorcycle experience because the seat is one of the biggest connections between rider and machine. Tom was personally granted several patents on innovative seat technologies. Saddlemen added motorcycle luggage and more. Tom hired motorcyclists, believing that riders with street smarts make the best representatives for the brand. Tom also wanted to give back to the industry and sport. Saddlemen sponsored racers, teams, and races, whole series and championships. Legendary racers have worn the Saddlemen patch on their leathers while racing on a Saddlemen seat. Saddlemen sponsored flat track road racing, speedway, hooligan, land speed challenges, and stunt riders. Saddlemen provided sponsorship to more than 1,000 riders in the 1990s. Tom has been a member and leader of many motorcycle industry organizations. He serves on the board of directors for the Trailblazers and the AMA Rookies of '79. Tom is a Charter Life member of the AMA and was a V-Twin committee member of the Motorcycle Industry Council. Tom received a Lifetime Achievement Award from Peterson Publishing and the Leadership Award for the Class of '79 charity for injured racers. He was inducted into the Trailblazers Hall of Fame. Today, Tom has retired and turned leadership of Saddlemen over to David Eckert. He continues to ride and collect motorcycles and participate in industry events. He thanks his many friends in the industry, Lehman's Corporation, countless Saddlemen employees, racers, and the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum and Hall of Fame.
Well, Tom, thanks for saving my ass more than once. We appreciate you. I'd like to introduce Mr. Keith Ball, Hall of Fame Class of 2005. He is going to share a little more about Tom. Everybody, welcome, Mr. Keith Ball.
So this is how you're supposed to dress at these places.
Yeah.
I actually did this as a nod to Don Emde, because Don Emde runs the Trailblazers Hall of Fame ceremony every year, and he always wears a blazer, so I did this for Don. But I also did it because the guy that introduced me to the Trailblazers, which is an amazing organization and just completely inspirational in this industry, was Tom Seymour. Tom Seymour, I want to bring up three things. One, he introduced me to the Trailblazers, which was absolutely, they celebrate racers and guys who've been in the industry forever, and guys who inspired younger builders and younger riders to get involved. But the other thing about Tom is that if you ever go to his company, and even now, you'll recognize that there'll be three generation people working at that company. It's been in business for 35 years. The people there have been there 30 years, still working there. Their kids are working there. The place is an amazing place. And the third thing is that one of the things that a lot of you guys know about in business is that the relationships you build, the relationships you foster can either make your company die or it can make it survive and grow. And Tom had a partner. His partner is David Eckert. David's here today. Dave and Tom have supported one another all these years, and now Dave has taken over and Saddlemen's doing better than ever. So I want to recognize Dave Eckert for his efforts and what he's doing for the future of Saddlemen. And let's bring up Tom.
Well, what a group of people stand in front of me. An amazing, amazing group of people. Out here are my heroes, my idols, my friends, and I'm honored to be here. Or I'm humbled to be here. I look out the Davidsons, leaders of Sturgis Rally, people like Bill Gitwin who developed over the years. Amazing, amazing people. My competitors are here. It's a group that I'm glad to be with. I want to congratulate all of the Hall of Fame inductees today, several of whom I personally know and friends with. I'm again humbled to be part of the group of the inductees that went ahead of me. Thank you for the Sturgis Museum and Hall of Fame group that brought me here. I really want to thank that opportunity because it means a lot to me. When people talk about, come up to me and say, well, what do you do for a living? And I go, well, I own a motorcycle company. And they go, oh, really? Do you ever go to Sturgis? I go, well, yeah, I have. I've been going there since 1971. And how I know that is I came across a photograph. Any of you as old as me, you might remember. They used to put the dates on the developed photography. Here I got a photo of the Mount Rushmore. I'm sure a lot of people here have a similar photo. But mine's got the date, 1971 on it. I'm proud of that. So I've been coming for a while, and I kind of forget where I am, but well, I'll start over. I'm nervous up here, just like everyone. I was told that I should come up with a story to kind of start everything out. And I said, all right, a story. So I started writing them down. And over 50 years, 60 years of writing, I ended up about 10 per year. And I said, I got 600 stories. I don't think anybody here has got time to listen to them all. So I said, well, how am I going to kind of narrow them down? You know? So I came down and I said, well, I came down to the difference between incidents and messages. So I got two quick stories. First was an incident that I'm glad I did not take as a message. I was riding a friend of mine's friction throttle BMW back when I was first learning how to ride before I owned a motorcycle. And I was riding it, and all of a sudden it went into a horrible tank slapper. I'm sure several of you riders have either experienced it or been in it. When you're an inexperienced rider like I was, I said, well, what do you do? So I just, young and dumb, grabbed the handlebars as hard as I could and figured I'll stop this thing from shaking as quick as I can. Next thing I'm on the ground, you know, and the motorcycle, free of its rider, took off like I wasn't ever there. And it went down the road about 3/4 of a mile, pulled over and fell into an empty parking spot. The guys who were riding with me said, I didn't know if I was supposed to stop for you or follow the bike. Now, so then the fellow says to me, maybe you aren't meant to be a motorcyclist. You know, that motorcycle knows better than you. And I said, well, I'm glad I didn't take that as a message. It was an incident that I kind of scratched off. Well, so now comes a message. I'm riding, this was an off-road ride, and it started out about 105 degrees. And I said, well, it's pretty hard to go from riding in the desert, but I did anyway. Then I realized that the guys I'm riding with were way better than me, and I'm having trouble keep up. I said, how do you guys do this? One guy said, well, I'm a 3-time Baja 1000 winner. And I go, oh my God, I don't belong in this group. So there's my second little part of the message. Then I'm saying, maybe I should slow down and drop off of this group. I'm going down a connecting road about 50 miles an hour, and a big black crow out of the sky comes flying down and hits me in the chest. Burst into feathers, and leaves a big black and blue mark. And I said, you know, at this point, it's like that old joke, you know, God says, I tried to tell you how many messages I have to send to you. I bailed out. I bailed out on that ride. So anyway, those are my stories to kind of tell you about it. But one of the other things I want to mention, I'm here for several reasons. I don't know which ones. Maybe first because I've really gotten old, and people get old enough and live long enough, people begin to recognize them. And so that's part of it, I'm sure. The other is part of my company, the fact that I've been in Saddleman and brought it along for years, and now turned it over to my lifelong, not lifelong, but 30-year partner, David Emde. He's doing remarkably well. But Saddleman has been involved in making seats for years and years. And the seats, again, are the most important connection, one of the most important connections between a rider and this motorcycle. You know, you got the bars, you got the seat and the peg. Those are the three places that you connect to the bike. You got to have a good seat to make it do it. So I literally saved a lot of you asses out there. I'm sure Mike Corbin has too. So the other thing is that I have believed in helping out the industry. I believe that if you're kind of successful in your business and you love the sport that you're in, you have an obligation, particularly if you're in a position to do so, to help out the industry. And my background as a racer, well, let me talk about that for a second. My background as a racer was not, I was not a star, okay? Matter of fact, I was more known as a rolling chicane than a racer. But that led me into realizing that I could become a sponsor. And one of the things that I did is I really tried to help out the young riders that were coming up, to give them a little bit of encouragement. Giving a free seat to a kid that was just starting out meant a lot to him. He said, hey, this might be something I could really do. And I got a big enjoyment out of helping somebody out to get to that next level. And one of the guys that I helped out that was mentioned earlier, Jared Mees, look where he is now. He got to the Hall of Fame quicker than I did, but I was a sponsor for 16 years. Mike Corbin's helping him out now. Nice young man.
Okay, great.
But I've helped out a lot of riders. Some of them became superstars like Jared. I then became friends with a lot of the world champions. I've helped out speedway riders like Billy Hamill and Eddie Lawson has sat in my seats. Kenny Roberts has sat in our seats. You know, the list goes on and on. Bobby Shobert's a good friend of mine. Anyway, what else brought me into motorcycling? I loved, when I was that young, nerdy engineer, I was trying to find out what life meant for me. And I realized that I was a good engineer, but it wasn't satisfying. Motorcycling was satisfying. It gave me a sense of speed, exhilaration, of thrill. I mean, all of you out here know what I'm talking about. The sense of freedom, but being in control. And being cool, the chicks liked it too, you know, and all that. So that was the reason I'm here. But the real reason I'm here is because I'm an enthusiast. That enthusiasm brought me into all the different segments of motorcycling, racing, rides. I've ridden across the United States multiple times. Don Emde, who I rode on his Cannonball run. I've been with Canada to Mexico on the Continental Divide ride. I've done all sorts of New York to Daytona and so on. It's fun to ride, so I did it there. Well, I'm going to kind of say thank you to everybody again and sign off, but there's a couple things I'd like to say. First, motorcycling is an addiction for which we do not seek treatment. Right? And you see, I had another quick note here. I got to pretend that I read. The other question I often have is, what is the best bike that I have? And it's easy to say Harley Davidson, but my answer is the bike I'm on right now is my best bike. It's the best ride. It's often a Harley Davidson, but incidentally, I have a Harley Davidson out that I had help with building from Paco. It's out in the front room there, but it's a 1940 WLA Harley Davidson. I built it to ride, not to show. So anyway, I want to thank everybody that was part of getting me here. I'm proud to be part of this group, proud to be proud of Sturgis, proud to be part of motorcycling. Thank you very much.
And just to prove these gentlemen, when nobody's looking, he allowed me to cut in and get my breakfast so I could get to work today. Thank you so much, Mr. Tom Seymour. Settled. You know, another thing you all do, all of you, you know, think about this. If there was no Harley Davidsons, Mark Bradshaw's Cave Creek Hideaway would probably be a freaking tea house. But, you know, it allows people like Crystal and me to bring messages to kids, to help vets, to help people with cancer. Bikers, remember this. You are the #1 philanthropic group in the United States. Give yourself a round of applause. People like Crystal are examples of what can be done. Think about what you can do next time you get on your bike, because there's a million different ways to spread love and help others. Oh boy, this is a big one. We're going to talk about kickstands now, and I'd like to bring Keith Terry.
Last year, we introduced a whole new category to the museum. It's called Kickstands Down. It's a category of people that passed away before we really had a chance to honor them. This year, we're going to honor a man by the name of Ben Hardy. He liked to call himself Benny, but Ben Hardy is his name, and half the people in this room, more than likely, never even heard of this man. But you all in this room watched a movie called Easy Rider. And Easy, that was with Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper. They needed a couple motorcycles to go in the movie, and they asked Benny Hardy to build those motorcycles. The two iconic motorcycles of all time. I never being from Los Angeles, I had never met Ben Hardy. He worked out of a small shop in South Central Los Angeles, a place called Watts. But there's a man here today that not only knew Ben Hardy, he grew up under the wing of Ben Hardy, and he was mentored by Ben Hardy. And I'd like all of us to give a warm welcome to this man. His name is Sugar Bear. And I'd like to have him come up and tell us all about the story about Ben Hardy.
For me, this is an honor because of Ben Hardy. If I get emotional, he was like a father. He was my mentor. He taught me almost everything that I came to believe in the motorcycle industry. But first, I'd like to tell you about the bike that's on stage. Gentleman rode the bike in the Ben's shop in 1964. And he never came back. Benny never knew what happened to the guy. He just never showed up. So Benny pushed it in a corner of the shop. And when I saw it, when I met Benny, it was sitting on 2 flats. It was painted 2-tone green with a paintbrush that you would paint a house with. You could see the strokes all over the bike. And I asked Benny if it was for sale, and he said, no, I'm saving it for my retirement. It's the only bike that I have that's at least 98% pure Harley as it came from the factory. I spent Benny's last 10 years, I spent 6 days a week, each week, an hour each day, trying to convince him to sell me the bike. He was still sitting in the corner, still on the flats, with the green paint job. So when he closed his shop, and he went to work out of his garage, he called me one day and said, Bear baby, he called everybody baby, Bear baby, I'll sell it to you. I said, only on one condition, that you take the bike, tear it all apart, and put it together the way you would want it to be. He says, you can do that. I said, I don't care what you say. If you don't do that, I refuse to buy the bike. I want one of your bikes. This is the last bike that Benny built. He tore it apart. I said, what do you want chrome? He gave me the parts he wanted chrome. I asked him, I said, what color do you want to paint? I can't leave this paintbrush green. He said, you can paint it any color you want, as long as you don't do that awful yellow that Harley put on the anniversary model. I like you guys, don't take that. Mr. T? Mr. T, it's okay, it's okay. So I painted it my colors, the colors of my company, and it was all right with him. It's a 1954, it's the 50th anniversary model. It still has the original badge. It still has the original tombstone tail light. It has the original gasket for the tail light, the original horn and the horn gasket. Everything except the handlebars, the voltage regulator, and the seat, and all the nuts and bolts are as they came from the factory. The one thing that Benny was, he was a purist. He didn't like Sportsters because he felt they came from Triumphs because they shifted on the wrong side. So all he worked on were the big twins. Benny was my mentor. I sat in his shop many a day in a corner on a stool and listened to him and watched him. I saw my first 1%ers in his shop. I saw my first angels, Galloping Goose, Satan slaves, and not the henchmen, well, the other. Anyway, and I asked Benny, I said, why did these guys come all the way to Watts to get their bikes done? Well, baby, if you have integrity in your work, they'll come wherever you are. I said, but how do you feel working on these bikes for these badass guys, people that society frowns down on? I said, how do you feel about working with these guys? They're not supposed to be good people. Well, baby, let me tell you something. My invoice says name, address, and phone number. What they want done, I list the parts that I put on it, and I charge them that, and they pay for it. It does not have race, it does not have religion, it does not have political affiliation, and they're not filling out a credit app to get this work done. He says, if I fill out a worksheet on you, you get the same work I give anybody else. He said, I'm in business. I'm not in public opinion. He said, so I do my work, waltz through that door. He said, I don't have to like my customers, but it doesn't matter. They came here for the work, they didn't come here to discuss their views. He was that way. He was so much that way that when he knew that he wasn't going to be here long, he made out his will. And he had this one bike that he had built for himself that he rode through all the years. And in his will, the bike had to be crushed before the rest of his will was carried out. Nobody, baby, will ever ride my motorcycle. He said, nobody in my family will ever get anything until they crush my motorcycle. I spent the same 10 years trying to convince him not to do it, to save it for the future. He said, I'm not going to be here in the future. And my motorcycle only lives as long as I live. When he passed away, they had to crush his motorcycle. One of the reasons he did not want to give me this motorcycle, he said, because I'm a chop man. He says, you can't help it. He says, and I don't want to chop it. I swore to Benny 6 days a week, 1 hour each day, for about 10 years, that I would not chop this motorcycle. I wanted to build a 1954 Harley chopper, and I didn't have a 54, and I walked past this bike on a daily basis and I got it. But I promised him that I wouldn't do it, and it will always be the way he finished it. So that's why it's here, so you can see a sample of it. Now, truth is not complicated. But sometimes getting to the truth is very complicated. This is going to be the first time I've spoken fully on this subject, and it's about Easy Rider, the movie. I spent hours talking to Benny about what actually happened, what it was all about. Benny bought two 1953 panheads from the Los Angeles Police Department auction. And he built those two bikes into the bikes in the movie. They were both 53 pans. He, when he finished the bikes, and he found out what the movie was about, he wanted nothing more to do with the bikes. I asked him why. He said, it's a movie about two drug dealers riding across the country, having orgies and taking drugs. I don't want to be associated with anything like that. He said, I think it's bad for motorcycling. That was his take on the movie. He did not like the movie at all. He was literally disgusted with the movie. And then when the movie became famous, and he said this before he even knew the movie became famous, the bikes came up, supposedly, depending on who you listen to, they were stolen, they came up missing, but they didn't come up missing. They were confiscated by the people that they owed drug money to. The parts were sold all across Southern California in the late 60s, right before the movie came out. Benny ran into people, I've run into people. Anybody that was in the Southern California area at the time knew that those parts were being sold. So they were not stolen, they were confiscated by the people they owed money to. Nobody would ever talk about it because the people that knew were not comfortable talking about it. This is the first time I've told you what Benny told me. Now, Cliff Voss rode Harleys, and every Harley except his last two were made by Benny. Dan Haggerty claimed he built the bikes. But I say to everybody, if you had built the most famous choppers in the world, and that was the only chopper that you ever built, does that make sense to you? I don't know anybody that ever had a Dan Haggerty bike. I don't know anybody that ever had a Cliff Voss bike. But Cliff Voss had a lot of Ben Hardy bikes. So the real truth is, both bikes were built in Benny's shop. When he finished the Captain America bike, he finished that first. He put it in his showroom window to keep all of us locals from messing with it for the movie. He built the Billy bike, which is a typical South Central bike that we were all riding at the time. There was absolutely, to us, nothing special about the Billy bike. So then he built the bike. At one time he showed me his receipt from Pando Productions. And then when the movie became famous, and they didn't have bikes, they needed bikes for the movie tour. They came to Benny and asked him to rebuild the bikes, and he said no. So when you hear about 4 bikes being built for Easy Rider, the 4 bikes that were built by AEE for the movie tour. That's where the 4 bikes came from. But for the movie, there were only the 2 53s. Benny also told me that the bike that flew across the screen with the ape hangers was not a Harley. He said they couldn't afford another Harley. So they couldn't afford to blow up one to send it across the street. He said, he didn't remember if it was a Yamaha or a Triumph or something. He said, just something they put some A-painters on it and blew it across the street. I said, there's no way, baby, that they do that to a Harley. Benny was instrumental in a lot of things. There was a company called MC Supply that was maybe a half a mile from his shop on the same street. And one of the original blues fighters, C.B. Clausen, was the owner of MC Supply. MC Supply in the late 60s, the early 70s, was our custom chrome drag specialties. A lot of the parts that were on both of the bikes, the headlights, the exhaust pipes, and all that kind of stuff, came from MC Supply. And so Benny and C.B. Clausen were friends. And many an evening after MC Supply closed, C.B. would go down to Benny's shop and they would stand around and talk, and I'd get my little chair over in the corner because I wasn't allowed to get engaged because I didn't know enough. They would talk about pistons, how to make cast pistons, the piston angles, the valve angles, the rings, the material for the stuff. I mean, I just sat there in awe, listening to these two guys that I considered the old pros talk about the things that the motorcycle industry needed. A lot of people never knew about C.B. Clausen. A lot of the old guys, like myself, knew about MC Supply. But Benny was instrumental in a lot of the products that have evolved from that time into today. He even told me that he had built the first set of drag pipes for a swing arm. And he did that grudgingly because he hated swing arms. He says, anybody that rides a swing arm is stupid. He says, with a rigid, you know where your back wheel is at all times. He says, if you're going up and down, he says, you don't know where the hell that back wheel is or what it's going to do. He said, so, he said, always ride a rigid, but put a seat with springs on it. He said, anybody that rides a rigid with a frame on the seat, he said, I won't even talk to them. He got to the point, after all this stuff started going down with Easy Rider, that he decided he wasn't going to work on chops anymore. He said, chop riders are just really too stupid. He said, if you want me to overhaul your motor, and he was a supreme motor guy, we called him the king of motorcycles. If you rode a chop, you had to take your motor out of your frame, take it down to Benny. He would overhaul it and give it back to you. You take it home, put it in your frame, then put it in a trailer or a truck and bring it down to him outside the shop on the side and start it up for the first time. If you tried to start it before you brought it that day, you voided any and all warranty. I said, Benny, why do you do that? He said, chop riders. He says, they're a different breed. Guy comes in, you fix his motor, you go to start it, and the transmission's bad. Well, the transmission was good when I brought it here. You must have done something to my transmission. He said, so what I do, I give them the motor, they put it back in, and then I have them kickstart. I won't even kickstart it. This is way before you guys, everybody was doing this. And he said, if it doesn't start, he said, then I can't tune the motor. If the transmission won't work, or the clutches don't work. And that was my mentor. He was adamant about what he believed in, but he never raised his voice. He Never saw him mad. All he did was work. He didn't give interviews. There's only maybe 3 pictures of him on the internet. He would not take pictures. He said, if you give an interview, they always mess up your words. He said, and I don't like what they put in the books about me. He said, and part of the reason too, as you all know, because he was, as he said, I'm an Afro-American, and they don't want me in this really white business. Those are his words. Then he died in '94. He died before anybody knew of anything that he had done. And he said, I asked him once, I said, well, what happens if, you know, he says, as I said before, it doesn't matter, I'm dead. It doesn't matter. I won't know anything about anything. So when I'm gone, it's over. But he didn't realize that his worth, his efforts, his contributions did matter. They still matter today. And I think they will always matter. Because of his work, we had 2 iconic motorcycles. Because of his work, we have a lot of engine and clutch, other components that he helped develop along the time with MC Supply. He even built the motors for the drag bike, the landscape bike Bone Crusher that C.B. Clausen owned at the time that set a few records in Bonneville. So he was involved in all aspects of the industry as long as it wasn't a sportsman. That was just his thing. But everything that I learned from Benny. He taught me that if you don't do your work well, and you don't have integrity, you will not survive in this industry. He said, especially Barry, you and I, we have to be good. And he said, and if you don't, and he told me this, you will never be famous in this industry because they don't want you in here. If you're going to stay in this industry, you only have to stay for one reason, because you love it. And this is what you decide, this is what you want to do in your life. And I've said before, because Benny was able to own his own house, he put his daughter through college, he had his own business. I thought that that was the American dream. To do what you could for your family and everyone you love. So I said, I'm going to do it. When I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, I said I was standing on Benny's shoulders. I still am. I'm still proud of him. And I thought maybe you would like to see the last fight that he ever built. Thank you.
Fantastic.
And I don't know what you would say today, but I would like to thank you for Benny and making this come true. Thank you.
Wow, you learn something new every day. Bear, I believe our predecessors watch us. And I believe for 80 years, or that amount of time that you've known him since that first day you walked in the shop, he's very proud of you. Thank you, Barry. Our next inductee is also receiving a special distinction this morning as the class of the 2022 Freedom Fighter. Here's their video.
The Motorcycle Riders Foundation is a national organization dedicated to lobbying for those who ride, to protecting and defending our rights as motorcyclists, and to addressing the concerns of street riders and the motorcycle industry they support. In 1985, the MRF held its first annual Meeting of the Minds conference. For many activists from around the country, this marked the first time they'd meet to discuss how to best preserve and protect motorcycling. The main issues of the day, mandatory helmet laws, unfair insurance laws, and the right to modify our motorcycles, are ones that we still face today, along with many others. In 2022, the MRF will hold its 38th annual Meeting of the Minds, representing an unbroken chain of unparalleled training and networking opportunities that has molded the American bikers' rights movement into the highly effective force it is today. MRF also holds its annual Bikers Inside the Beltway grassroots lobbying event, where riders from all over the country go to Washington, D.C. to help fight for their rights. In 1987, the Motorcycle Riders Foundation became the first organization to hire a full-time lobbyist to work in Washington, D.C. Since that time, MRF has advocated for American street riding motorcyclists and the motorcycle industry. For over 35 years, the MRF has been recognized by members of the U.S. Congress and their staff as the voice of American street riders in our nation's capital. Working with our partners at the state level, the Motorcycle Riders Foundation led the successful repeal of a national mandatory helmet law, later rallied to defeat the Lautenberg Federal Helmet Amendment in the United States Senate with a unanimous vote, fought against motorcycle horsepower bans, stopped federal legislation that would have classified any group of 3 or more riders wearing similar clothing as a gang, stopped unfair insurance provisions, stopped the federal government from using taxpayer dollars to lobby for anti-motorcycling legislation, overturned road bans for motorcycles and federally funded motorcycle-only checkpoints, supported voluntary rider education programs, and protected the motorcycle industry from onerous and restrictive federal regulations multiple times. Throughout its history, MRF has fought to defend riders' right to repair and to modify their bikes. The Motorcycle Riders Foundation stopped unfair EPA regulations that would have forced riders to use only OEM parts on their bikes. We can still modify our motorcycles today thanks to the Motorcycle Riders Foundation. Issues we're facing today include end-of-life directives for older motorcycles, the end of internal combustion engines in favor of all-electric vehicles, availability of fuel compatible with motorcycle engines, making sure motorcycles are accounted for in autonomous self-driving vehicles, and that we have a place in any intelligent transportation system in development, updating the definition of a motorcycle, continuing our decades-long focus on crash avoidance versus safer crashing, and working diligently against motorcyclist profiling, evidenced by our resolution in the United States Senate that passed condemning motorcyclist profiling with a unanimous vote. Thanks to the Motorcycle Riders Foundation and its partners, American bikers today can ride the kind of bikes we want to ride, with the people we want to ride with, wearing what we want to wear, on the roads we want to ride, and make the changes to our bikes that we want to make. If you're not already a member of the Motorcycle Riders Foundation, why not?
So we have got Mr. Kirk Hardtail Willard, who was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2018. He is here again right now to help us welcome our newest freedom fighter. Mr. Hardtail, come on up here. Join me on stage, please.
It's a great day for the Motorcycle Riders Foundation. Thanks for having us. We do want to do something, though. We want to dedicate today to Debbie Butita. She was last year's freedom fighter inductee. We lost her just this summer to a left turner. A lot of us were at her funeral on Saturday. So one piece of advice, there's some cool things said today, but hopefully I'll add something. Treasure this every day. As I'm talking, I'd like to have our current past board of directors come and join me. Off to the side first and up with me in a minute. So I often hear, I travel the United States, I travel in Europe, do what we do, lobbying for motorcyclists in the United States, making sure our position is represented in Europe as well. People ask, what is the MRF? Well, we represent about 200,000 members through sustaining organizations, motorcyclist rights groups in all states but 2, almost 70 state-right motorcycle organizations, motorcycle clubs, a significant number of sustaining motorcyclist clubs work with us, and then our individual members. What is it we do? You heard some things about what we do, but primarily we want to be the powerhouse in Washington, D.C. when it comes to legislative activities associating motorcycles and our lifestyle. An important piece is our lifestyle. We want to be a conduit between motorcyclists, motorcyclist rights organizations, active motorcyclist clubs and rights, because they started rights for us, bureaucrats, politicians, lawmakers, those that think they know what's best for us. We want to make sure they really do know what's best for us. You can see for 40 years, we've tried to educate members nationwide, worldwide, about what it is we can do to preserve our rights, to ride the kind of motorcycles that are out in the parking lot, customize them and build them the way we want, wear what we want, ride them where we want. Because that doesn't happen everywhere. That's unique to the United States. And we want to really, probably, one of the most important things for me as a lifelong motorcyclist is to drive passion around motorcycles, and our lifestyle. We are proud to have delivered on our mission, written almost 35 years ago. I'll share with you. The MRF's mission is to continue developing an aggressive, independent national advocate for the advancement of motorcycling and its associated lifestyle, which is financially stable and exceeds the needs of motorcycling enthusiasts. So today, this really brings it full circle. Puts the frosting on the cake for us that we believe we've done that. And now you guys are telling us that we've done that. I would like to thank Keith Ball for keeping us in front of the industry for so many years. I'd like to then introduce our board of directors. This is a volunteer organization as well, I heard that today. So every weekend, personal finances, personal relationships, all invested in this, in the movement to protect motorcyclist rights. I'd like to introduce Jay Jackson, our longtime vice president, to accept the induction.
Good morning. I think it's still morning for a little while on the end. I had 5 minutes of Sturgis stand-up prepared, but Flash stole all my material, so it's not going to work anymore. He already used all those lines. The bad part about being the vice president is you're always going to be the abbot to the Costello. So he comes on and says what he wants to say, and if he goes too long, I have no time to finish. If he decides just to say hi, I'm stuck trying to fill 10 minutes. So it's a never-ending game figuring out what you're going to say. I am curious. How many members of the Motorcycle Riders Foundation do we have in the room today? If you'd stand, please, and remain standing. Thank you very much. Remain standing. Obviously, this is for you. This award, this induction into the Hall of Fame is for you all that are the boots on the ground and really do all the work. While you remain standing, those that are involved in other motorcyclist rights organizations, SMROs, other national organizations, please stand. Some more. Thank you very much. to these people who care enough about our rights. And thanks to all of you for supporting the industry as a whole so that we can do what we do. We represent all riders, not just our members. We also represent industry. Am I getting a little feedback? It's good to have a roadie. Thank you. We represent all riders, not just our members. Also, of course, look out for the industry. Anything that's detrimental to motorcycling at the federal level, we're going to have a position on, and we're going to oppose that. If it supports motorcycling, we're going to be there to support it and try to make sure that it gets passed. That's what we see as our job. As I said, the industry is an important part as well, because without bikes, there aren't bikers. So we know that we each have a role to support each other. We become their customer, but they supply our need. We get our fix. They're what keeps us going. So we do need each other. We need everybody in this room to make sure that we are successful. We oppose regulatory acts. We're about less government. We don't really need a lot of rules. We just need to make sure that we can do what we need to do without being a problem to anybody else. Pretty simple, really. Regulatory acts are a problem. They want to continue to restrict things that we do. It says right on the banner here, freedom fighter. That's what we are. We embrace, we live, we embody this lifestyle. It's not just a mode of transportation, it's what we do. I frequently abuse preaching to the choir because that's who you guys are. You get it, you wouldn't be in this room if you didn't. But a lot of people don't, and it's our job as a whole to make sure that they do understand how important this lifestyle is to us, and we need to be able to continue to offer that for generations to come. And as I said, that's what we see as our role. We've been fortunate to be very successful using limited resources. We've had some victories that some thought were not possible. Yet we, as a whole, because we are so passionate, so dedicated, so committed, we're able to get things done. And this isn't a couple of officers in an organization with an office in Washington. This is the motorcycling community. We have to work together to make sure we continue to preserve our chosen lifestyle. Things like insurance, health care, EPA, with regarding either emissions or fuel, the right to repair, rider education and motorist awareness, which is very important to us. Just heard about the left-turning vehicle. Anti-profiling is a big project of ours right now. All of these are things that affect motorcyclists, each and every motorcyclist, regardless of what you wear, what brand you're riding, or where you're riding. And that's why it's important to have a watchdog, to make sure that we're looking out for the rights of all motorcyclists. We have trained probably tens of thousands of grassroots lobbyists across the country since 1987. And they've all gone back home and trained others and gotten involved and gotten into that grassroots lobbying to make sure that the legislators and the policymakers understand why this is so damn important to us. We can't do that alone. We need everyone's help to do that. DC is a crazy place, and you guys, unfortunately, don't even know the half of it. We had a friend come up to us a number of years ago and say, hey, so how are things going in Washington? Things look pretty calm. Well, yeah, they look that way because we work so hard behind the scenes to make sure that some of these things never even see the light of day. By the time we put out a call to action on a piece of legislation, there's already been an awful lot that's happened. There are many of those that we're able to kill before they even see the light of day. They don't make it out of committee, so we don't have to put out a big call to action, so there's not a lot of attention given to those. But this person said things look pretty easy, not much going on. On the surface, it's like that. And Hartzell made the comparison to a duck. You look at a duck out on a lake, just gliding along, taking in the weather, looking at the squirrels, everything's happy, but under the water, that duck is paddling his ass off just to float across the water. That's behind the scenes stuff that we have to do to make sure that we are all able to enjoy this freedom and passion that we love so much. There are others, but they're not being inducted today, so we're not going to talk about them too much. We just want to say that the MRF is very proud to be the voice of street riders in the nation's capital. Since 1987, we've done that. During that time, we've been through primarily about 6 lobbyists that have been the face of the organization in the halls of our nation's capital, walking inside the Beltway in the halls of Congress. We're pleased to have with us today the 6th one, William Fox, but nobody calls him that. We call him Rocky. He's standing over here somewhere. He's constantly watching everything that is said, introduced, or written in the Capitol to make sure that nothing about motorcycling gets through there that we don't want or that would be detrimental to us. So in closing, I would like to say thank you to the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum Hall of Fame for this very prestigious honor. We are indeed humbled and honored to be here. Speaking as an inductee of the class of 2009, thank you again. Thank you to the people in this room who care enough to come out and do some things to make sure that motorcycling is furthered. Thank you to all of our members and our partners. And if you're not one already, we'd be delighted to have you. Come join the party, we'll have a good time. Thank you again for this wonderful honor. I could call you Lori. What would you like to be called today? Whatever we like. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations to everybody in the Motorcycle Riders Foundation. Thank you for everything you've done for motorcyclists for over the years, everything you continue to do. So you guys remember how important they are to us. So one more time, MRF, thank you so much. Now last but not least, I know you guys have been waiting for me to say that, is the Arlen Ness Lifetime Achievement Award. This award was created to honor Hall of Fame inductees who have continued to support the motorcycle industry and museum throughout their lives. On stage, you see this beautiful trophy engraved with all the names of all the Lifetime Achievement Awards recipients. It is displayed year-round at the museum. In addition, Jeff Decker handcrafts a custom bronze each year for this recipient. I am honored to announce Don Emde as the class of 2022 Arlen Ness Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. Let's take a few minutes to watch Don Emde's video.
When Don Emde received his first motorcycle for Christmas in 1962, his family already had almost 50 years motorcycling experience. Grandpa Joe opened a motorcycle repair business in California. Don's father, Floyd, took motorcycling to a higher level through racing. Don was born in 1951. He got his first motorcycle at 12 and soon spent many afternoons riding near their house. He began competing in amateur events in the San Diego area and found success. In 1969, Don began racing in AMA, racing dirt track on Friday nights and road racing on the weekend. He won the AFM Racing Association's overall national championship. In 1970, he tested his experience on the AMA racing circuit, winning flat track, TT, and road race events, including the junior final at the Oklahoma City National Races. In 1971, Don moved up the expert level to compete in the AMA Grand National Championship Series. He was on the BSA factory team and was the 11th ranked rider in the United States at year-end. BSA suffered financial difficulties, which caused Don to find a new racing team. He returned to his sponsor, Mel Dennison, a Yamaha dealer from Southern California. Their first major race was the 1972 Daytona 200. Don rode a 350cc Yamaha against larger bikes. When Don won the 1972 race, he set several milestones. The first Daytona 200 victory for a Yamaha motorcycle, the first two-stroke and smallest engine size to win the challenging race. Don raced professionally a few more years, then decided to retire, focusing on his family and career. He met his future wife Tracy in 1972. He worked motorcycle retail stores and was an ad sales rep for Motorcycle Dealer News. He worked for Bell Helmets, rising to Vice President of Sales and Marketing. In 1985, Don returned to Motorcycle Dealer News magazine as publisher. Don served on the Motorcycle Industry Council's Aftermarket Committee. He spearheaded the Discover Today's Motorcycling PR campaign, now known as motorcycles.org, to reinvigorate the sport. In 1990, Don started his own business. His first publication was a monthly dealer newsletter called the Emde Report, followed by writing and publishing the Daytona 200, the history of America's premier motorcycle race. Seeing the growing interest with antique and vintage motorcycles, Don launched Motorcycle Collector magazine. A year later, Emde and Hall of Famer Fred Fox agreed that Don Emde Productions would produce a dealer publication for Parts Unlimited. The bi-monthly Parts magazine was an immediate success, and Fox's other distributing company, Drag Specialties, wanted the same for the V-twin industry. Parts magazine and Drag Specialties magazine are still published bi-monthly. Parts Europe magazine is published quarterly and distributed through Le Mans' European warehouse. In 2012, Don acquired an original Indian Motorcycle Company booklet detailing Cannonball Baker's historic ride from San Diego to New York City. The booklet was Baker's diary and inspired Don to begin a project to retrace Baker's route. He has since written numerous books about motorcycling. When the AMA opened its Motorcycle Heritage Museum in 1990, Don joined the board of directors. In 1995, he became chairman and served until 2005. Don helped create bylaws and election procedures for an AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame. Don has been involved with Trailblazers for over 25 years and its president for the past 10. On receiving the Arlen Ness Lifetime Achievement Award, Don credits his rally host, Bill and Sherry Gickling, 2018 award recipient Fred Fox, and the award's namesake, Arlen Ness, whose custom drag Ness graced the premier issue's cover. He says, "Without the Gicklings' hospitality and Fred Fox's support, I can't imagine I would ever have been considered for any award at the Sturgis Rally, especially one named for Arlen Ness, the king of choppers. I am very honored."
Before we get Don up here, I would like to ask Hall of Fame class of 2013 and J.C. Pappy Hole Outstanding Achievement Award recipient, Bill Gickling, to join me. Bill?
I'm very honored and proud and really happy to introduce a very good friend of mine, Don Emde, for the Arlen Ness Lifetime Achievement Award. I've known Don for many years. I followed his racing career, and he went on to publish mostly through cycle news when we were young kids. That's all we had. And then as he went up through and published his magazines, and along with other racing stars, Kenny Roberts and Ralph White, Don began staying with us at the rally every year at our house. And then I had a little lodge at Rockerville that we all did. I enjoyed taking him on a lot of round trips, and we rode a lot during the rally and showing him what the Sturgis Rally really was. And I know motorcycling has been Don's life. He has contributed to the sport and the industry for many years. So let's bring up Don.
Thank you, Bill. When Keith Cherry called me to let me know I was going to receive this great award, he said you need someone to introduce you, and there was, I guess I could say there was either no second choice or 100 second choices, but Bill Gickling was the only person I could think of. Really, I've been very blessed to be involved in all aspects of motorcycle sport and business, and so a lot of times in just a lot of places. I was on a trip early 2000s, and Bill was there, and he finally got to say, you got to come up and check this out. We have it's all going up, what we're doing up here and everything. And so I started doing that, and as he just said, I stayed at his house a few times. Then he bought the lodge over in Rockerville, which we renamed Gicklingville from there, and it was a great ride, and just learning really, from someone who grew up here in this area and motorcycling and all the things that he had achieved, it was just a great experience. And as someone said, this is kind of an addiction that you don't really want to get cured from. So I've been here many times, but thanks to Bill and Sherry and Todd is here, the family, the Gickling family. So thank you very much for for all of that. And you kind of heard my story, so I think really all the only things I really wanted to do today was just to kind of recognize people and thank people because kind of how did this happen that you'd be chosen amongst your peers for a lifetime. But motorcycling truly has been my life. It's the only thing I've ever done. And I guess the only kind of real story that I'd like to tell you is that my mom and dad were here in 1947, 75 years ago. And Floyd was a top-level motorcycle racer at the time. He was actually Willie. He gets a lot of credit this year by my father for winning the Daytona 200 on an Indian, but he was actually a Harley rider for many more years than he was an Indian rider. And he was here in 1947 riding Harley Davidson WR. And he was funny. He never really bragged about the races that he won, but he used to tell me over and over and over about the races that he lost and why. And I think that kind of helped me in building my career. Just different things about the guy named Bill Toolman on the Indian who just beat him out that day, and it just never went away. He said, it was I think Sturgis was a race that he really wanted to win. But him and my mom were here pulling a trailer, and they were here actually about this time in August of 1947, and he got second in the race right over here at the fairgrounds. And then they went to the Springfield Mile, which at the time was the biggest race going in terms of if you won Springfield, you got the #1 plate for the next year. And unfortunately, it was in a very bad crash where one rider lost his life, and even Floyd's motorcycle got run over so badly that it was unrideable. But the Harley Davidson dealer in Milwaukee and the race manager from the Harley Davidson company said, you get up here because the Milwaukee Mile was running the very next week. And that was a very important race to the Harley Davidson company. They knew all their employees were going to be in the stands, and they didn't want to have an Indian win that race, he said. But so the Harley Davidson dealer opened his shop. The factory was sending some parts over, and Floyd was able to rebuild his bike. And in fact, he won. He got his revenge against not only Bill Toolman, but he beat everybody that day, and he won the 10-mile national at the fairgrounds for Harley Davidson, and he was they were very happy about that at the factory. And Willie, years later, Floyd actually started out a couple years with his success at Daytona with India. They fixed him up with a little Indian shop he got started with. But one person that a good friend that he made that day in 1947 was Arthur Davidson, one of the founders, and was still running the sales department. And one day in their dealership, the local San Diego or West Coast Harley Davidson sales rep walked in the door with Arthur Davidson, and Arthur, they said, welcome back, everything. And so they got back in the Harley Davidson business after that. He told him, he said, we're going to set up another dealer. We need another dealer in San Diego, but if you'd like to take it, you got the first shot at it. And that's what they did. And so my mom and dad were Harley Davidson dealers for many years, which is why my first motorcycle was a 165 Harley, which I still have. I'm very proud of that. So a lot of good Harley background and all that. Very proud of the years that we were in that part of the business. So. So I kind of always knew how important my folks and my dad in particular, Sturgis was, and so it was always there. So when I got the invitation from Bill, to come and start coming here, it was great. And he's taken us on all the rides, and that he's talking about when we come and stay with Bill. We knew we were going somewhere every day. And he'd always have the route figured out. We're going to go out to the Badlands today. We're going to go to Devil's Tower. We're going to go to the park, and we're going to go to Mount Rushmore. All the different things. We always knew we were riding, and it was just a great experience of my life and something I'll never forget. It was just really ingrained that into me. And I think the other part of where it kind of connects me to Sturgis is through Fred Fox, as we mentioned, in the whole Le Mans company, which is the parent company of Drag Specialties amongst their other companies. And as many of you probably seen, Drag Specialties is a very high profile. It has for many years here in Sturgis, all the way from Black Hills, Harley Davidson, up into town in Sturgis as well. And but Fred was he was a friend early on, back even those years when I was selling ads at Dealer News magazine and getting a few of my things started, and he became kind of a customer of mine and got to know him. And I kind of got this idea finally after a couple of different magazine tries of a magazine that we could produce for their company. And this is about this time right now, about 30 years ago, is when I ran the idea by him that we could produce a magazine for them. It started out with the Parts Limited company. And on one sheet of paper. He said, yeah, show me how do you think this would work? And we explained that, and here we are almost 30 years later. The magazine's been actually 29 years. We're finishing up. And that one sheet of paper, we're still running the magazine in that same way. And I really have to thank Fred for all of his support. As you know, he received this Lifetime Achievement Award just a couple of years ago. And he's fully retired from the company now, was not able to be here today. But the chairman of the board of Lujan's Corporation is here today, Paul Langley, who many of you I'm sure know, and also the president and CEO, Mike Collins, who I've known for many, many years. So I appreciate them coming out here, making the trip to be here for this award, and of course all of their support, through the years, as well as so many customers I have in the room here that I just start naming, Terry Vance and Tom Seymour, and Randy Aaron. They're just all over the room. And a lot of people were with us, and Tom Seymour, who was just received this award, with Salomon. These companies have been with us all these years, and it really has been such a great family to be a part of, that whole Lujan's group and all of their vendors and the business that we have. So, but a lifetime achievement. Everybody, I guess, thinks that you're doing everything all by yourself, but in reality, that's not the case. And my family is here, and I'm happy with that. I wanted to actually just introduce, stand up, our grandson, Hudson, is here, my son-in-law, Ryan Rose, and my daughter, Jen. And Jennifer is kind of in the next generation. She's been running kind of the office of production manager and handling all of the advertising and bookkeeping and for our company. And so it's great to have them there. But then my wife Tracy is there. You got a picture up there, and have her. If it wasn't for her assistance and publishing, Robin Bradley and others have been in publishing, will appreciate the fact that a lot of times you'll hear people writing books and writing magazine stories, and everyone just think, well, you have writers, and they send the story in, and it gets printed. And maybe in some places that's the case, but never was the case in our business. We already took the position that there's writers and there's editors, and editors really make writers look good. And that's Tracy's case, and we've done magazines now, between the Drag Specialties, Parts Limited, and Parts Here publications, and now for 29 years. And Tracy has read every story for all those years, for all of the different vendors and stuff that we've had, the stories that have come in, and it's got a great style, and even especially when I got into the books, so the Speed Kings and some of the other books that we do, which is my writing, and so every story, every chapter I would write, and give it to Tracy, and she would read it, and she has really funny, sometimes little notes that she would kind of make. We're very big fans of the historian Ken Burns. You may be familiar with some of his documentaries of the Civil War and baseball and jazz and all kind of number of other things. And so, sometimes I write something, and times overnight she write proof of the stories for me. And the next morning you might have a little thing like, how would Ken Burns have said this and whatever, and it might slow me down. Okay, so I go back and have to kind of rewrite things a little bit, maybe kind of jazz it up. And then a couple times, if you run back really off my game a little bit, she had a little smile, usually a little smiley face, but sometimes a smiley face would just have two little X's and some Z's across it, wherever. Okay. So I've done a lot of rewrites in my career, thanks to her. But I think in the end, we're very proud of the books that we come out with and that we put out, and the magazines that we do for customers, and for Parts Limited and Drag Specialties and Parts Europe as well. But it's been great, just a great honor to have been in this business all these years. I think that one other honor, by the way, the 13 Rebels Club is here today, and a little bit of history with that and everything. I was actually made a honorary member today of the 13 Rebels. They used to be really kind of mostly a racing club out in Los Angeles area, and so my mom and dad were that. Way before, this is like the late 30s and early 40s. There wasn't really a lot of magazines. There were magazines that came out, but they weren't local, close-in, time-wise news. All of it was the longer picture of things and stories about people. So the clubs were very important in those years. People could go. They had to find out, well, what's the next races? What's coming up? Where am I going to be and everything? And that's where the 13 Rebels sort of started at that. And my mom and dad were part of those, one of their early memberships of that. And proud of that. So thank you guys for that. I'll always treasure that. But anyway, it really is just kind of a big thank you for this great honor to the Sturgis Motorcycle Hall of Fame, board members. Thank you for recognizing me for that, and we hope to have that. And then lastly, just to all the other honorees today, congratulations, to you, and I think we're all bonded. And Keith, I got my sport coat. I know this morning it was a little warm, but I told my wife, I wonder if I really need to tip out the watch. So anyway, I'm glad I got it here for you as well. But, thanks for the tip on that. So anyway, but thank you very much, and I look forward to being back again, and just really proud to be this level with the Sturgis Hall of Fame. Thank you.
We're getting to the end. We have one more message to send you. It's only going to take a couple minutes. I personally want to say that to be standing up here and invited by Leah and Keith and the board, 15 years ago or so, I had a claim to fame. That was all of my ex-wives had David Buell art in their houses now. Told David that story while I was buying more art for my new house. And about a month later, I got a phone call from him. And he asked me if I wanted to partner up on some projects. And I went from being a guy riding motorcycles to a guy working in motorcycles. And David, if you wouldn't have had a little faith in me, I wouldn't be here either. So thank you so much, my friend. This is remarkable. The people up here are remarkable. Thank you so much for having me. I hope I was worthy of you. And now I'm going to bring Leah back here. And Leah, look, you're going to take us out.
Didn't fit all the way through, you bet, but you're not going to leave me, right?
I won't leave you.
Don't leave me.
I won't leave you.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming in again. I really appreciate this very much. Now last year, if you were here, you know that we announced the creation of an endowment fund. And that fund is established to secure the future of the Hall of Fame and the museum. Through the generosity of an anonymous donor, who made a $25,000 matching fund challenge, and the amazing response from those who were in attendance, we were able to raise $70,000 to establish that fund.
Now that's $70,000 here. Folks, one thing about this museum and Hall of Fame that we need to discuss. Motorcycles are motorcycles. Now one day I was riding my Harley Davidson and I stopped at a roadside, like one of those, the truck stops, right, or the rest areas. And all the old guys, young guys coming out of their hot rods and the motorhomes, they surrounded me while I was just kind of tweaking a few things on the bike. And I realized what an incredible ambassador our motorcycles are. You have all experienced pulling up to a curb and having people check out your bikes, having kids want to touch it, whatever it is. They're the ambassador. We just get to tell the stories. And the museum is not a thing full of stuff. The museum is not full of motorcycles and pitch. It's full. What's meaning, you can take all the motorcycles out of there. The stories are what change our lives. And what this legacy is to continue on the stories. So please, when you think about this, think about how motorcycles have changed your lives. All right? And think about sharing the stories. Thanks.
Thank you. And thank you, Flash, for that. There's a pledge card on your table. If you would please take a moment, think about it. There's also a QR code on it, and if you could choose to give to the endowment fund for an amount that you think is appropriate, or if you'd like a further follow-up from us. Once you've completed it, there's a white envelope on your table with the Hall of Fame script logo on it. If you could please put it in there, we'd appreciate it. It's because of your generosity, the museum and the stories of the museum will be carried on. And I thank you for that. With that also, I'd like to take a moment, thank everybody for coming out. Thank you, 2022 inductees, congratulations. And all inductees, if you're all Hall of Famers, if you can come to the stage, please, for a photo op. And as you go home today and you ride throughout the hills and on your journey home, ride safe.
This was the 2022 Sturgis Motorcycle Museum Hall of Fame induction ceremony. My name is Lionel Gammon. In behalf of Source Media, we thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next year